Naruto is best known for its great fights, iconic moments for its characters, and its complex villains. However, there is one aspect of the series that does not get enough credit despite it being so good, and that is the world building. The world building in Naruto is very slept on by fans and even ridiculed by fans from other series like Hunter x Hunter and One Piece. And this is mainly because the world of Naruto is not as expansive or as grand as the worlds in One Piece and Hunter x Hunter. I mean, yeah, the world building is not perfect, but I still think that the world building in Naruto is very underrated. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what actually makes the world building good in the story and how Naruto did a great job with this aspect in his story. So a common misconception about what makes world building good in a story is always the amount of locations that exist in the world and the general size of the fictional world. This is just one aspect of good world building, but I don't think it's the only thing you need in order to build your world. This is why fans from other series like to ridicule Naruto about his world building, because their series might have more locations and they might have more exploration, like in One Piece for example. Although I also think that One Piece's world building is a lot better than people think, and it's not just about the number of islands in the world. But when we look at the geography in Naruto, it's still very expansive in its own right. As early as chapter 9, Kakashi explains the general structure of the world. There are 5 great nations which each have their own villages in each nation, and each village is governed by a Kage. This is good because as early as chapter 9 in the series, we are already introduced to the 5 great nations and the Kage that reside in each of them. So Kishimoto already planned out the type of world that he wanted to make, and because of this, when we eventually got to the 5 Kage Summit arc, we as the audience were already aware of who the 5 Kage are. So it doesn't seem like the author just created them out of nowhere halfway through the story. And this was because the ninja hierarchy system was already established within the first 10 chapters. There is also a shinobi rank system starting from the academy student, to becoming a genin, to a chunin, to jonin, and then kage. The difficulty of these missions are assigned according to their ranks, from D ranks being as simple as looking for lost pets to S ranks, which can include assassinations. Furthermore, in each of these villages, they are all very diverse with different cultures, technology, and different types of jutsu that they use. For example, in the Sand Village, it's located in a desert area with occasional sandstorms, and they specialize in Poppy Jutsu for the military might, and the last 3 Kazekage all specialize in magnet release, which basically involves sand manipulation. In the Mist Village, they train their shinobi in harsh environments in that they have to kill their other classmates in order to survive. And this was also implemented into Danzo's training regimen for his Anbu in the Lee village. They also have their own military faction known as the 7 Legendary Swordsmen of the Mist, who wield 7 different types of swords, each with unique abilities. In the Lee village, they have many different clans, which each have their own unique jutsu. There are also 2 different types of Anbu organizations, one that works underneath the Hokage and one that works under Danzo, which is known as the Root. And they all have a lot of history since their establishment. The Cloud Village is isolated high in the clouds with advanced technology like the chakra weapon that can destroy the moon, which was shown in the Naruto last movie, and the Stone Village is located in a mountainous area where the infrastructure is mainly built from surrounding rocks. So despite this still being a shinobi world with a lot of ninja, not everyone in the world of Naruto is a shinobi. You also have the samurai from the Land of Iron, who use chakra in their blades as a way of combat, instead of using ninjutsu, genjutsu or taijutsu. You also have the daimyo, business owners, shop owners like the ramen guy, construction workers like Tazuna the bridge builder, and you also have sculptors who built the Hokage stone faces. So this variety of occupations gives more layers to the world of Naruto and extends beyond just the combat aspects of the series. Even animals that can be summoned through the summoning jutsu in the worlds also have their own unique jutsu to help their summoners in battle, such as the toad from Mount Myoboku or Katsuyu from the Shokotu forest. So the inclusion of these animals also adds more variety to the world and the fights that they participate in. There are also geopolitics that happen between the nations throughout the series of Naruto, most notably the daimyo. So the daimyo are the most important political figures in the nation, despite them not having any battle experience at all. They have the final say in who gets to become the Kage of their village, and they also have control over the treaty alliances between villages and their budget as well, in order to pay the shinobi for completing their missions. Even during the 4 Great Ninja War, the allied shinobi forces couldn't form without their permission because they are the highest authority. Because they have this much political power, they're responsible for the economic state of their nations, which could either help their villages thrive or they can cause them to suffer. For example, when the daimyo of the Land of Wind formed an alliance with the Land of Fire, he cut back the military strength of the Sand Village, and instead assigned those jobs to the shinobi from the Konoha instead of the Sand Village ninja because they were cheaper to hire. And this angered the Sand Shinobi, which was why they allied with the Sand Village to cross Konoha in order to show off their military might. And this led to the Konoha Crush arc. And even in the aftermath of the Konoha Crush, because of the loss of the Hokage and half of the shinobi forces, the shinobi from Konoha had to keep on doing more missions in order to keep the balance of power between the nations. And it's because of these circumstances that the Sasuke Retriever squad only consisted of mostly genin. So it's because of these geopolitics that raised the stakes of the Sasuke Retriever lock, because Naruto, Kiba, Choji, Neji and Shikamaru, they were the only ones available to form the search team. So it's this use of geopolitics that adds more depth to the world that they're living in and connects the nations together in the story, instead of only focusing on the Lee village. The Hyuga incident connected Konoha and the Cloud village due to the Cloud Ninja attempting to kidnap Hinata for the Byakugan to increase their military strength, and this then led to the death of Neji's father, Hisashi Hyuga, and his ideology about never changing your fate. Having a well fleshed out magic system is another aspect of good world building, especially in Battle Shonen. Chakra as a power system is intricate, consistent, and not only does it add creativity and complexity to the fight, but Chakra also has ties to the lore and conflict between the nations ever since the era of the Sage of the Six Paths. In the power system, you have 3 types of jutsu, and those are ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. For each of these 3 types, most characters will specialize in each of these types, such as Rock Lee and Neji specializing with taijutsu, Kurona and Teyuya with the genjutsu, and Naruto with ninjutsu. There are also 5 different chakra natures, and each great nation specializes in each one. Each chakra nature is strong against one but weak to another, and this shows a sense of balance to the system. There are also derivations from these types of jutsu which suit the fighting styles for different types of combatants. For example, Puppy Jutsu involves manipulating ninja tools with built-in mechanisms. Kenjutsu is used by samurai who fight with their blades, and Sealing Jutsu was used by the Uzumaki clan. You also have Kekkei Genkai, which are tied to specific bloodlines and therefore cannot be copied or taught through normal methods, such as the Sharingan, Byakugan, Wood Release, Boil Release, and much more. There are also Senjutsu, which combines nature energy with your physical and spiritual energy to enhance your jutsu. And despite there being characters that are able to learn the jutsu from other people, like Naruto learning the Rasengan from Jiraiya, most characters in the series usually specialize in one type of jutsu, and this adds a sense of identity to his characters, like the Akatsuki members or the many different clans from Konoha. The clans with the most ties with the power system and the law of the worlds are the Uchiha and the Senju clan, because they tie all the way back to the Warring States period. In fact, Chakra has so much history that it ties all the way back to when Kage lived on Earth. Chakra originated from the chakra root of the god tree, after Kage ate from it and then ended the war. The chakra was then passed on to her children, Hagoromo and Hamura, who later became the progenitors of the Hyuga, the Uchiha and the Senju clans. The Uchiha were infamous for the possession of the Sharingan, and due to their massive potential, they were discriminated against and suspected of controlling the Nine Tails, and this caused conflict between the clan and the Lee village elders, which then eventually led to the Uchiha massacre. And the Sharingan being able to evolve as a result of emotional trauma also ties to the cycle of hatred, which is one of the core themes of Naruto. With the Uchiha clan, they were blessed with a lot of spiritual energy, whereas the Senju clan, they were blessed with a lot of physical energy, and it's these energies that were the main components of chakra. Hagoromo shared his chakra to his followers through a practice known as Ninshu, the Shinobi Creed, as a way to connect with everyone peacefully. But the humans instead used chakra as a weapon to wage wars against each other and to further enhance their abilities, and this gave birth to ninjutsu, which we see most people use throughout the Naruto series hundreds of years later. Including lore and history is one of the most, if not the most important thing when it comes to world building, and the Naruto series has an abundance of lore which connects to its characters, their backstories, their motivations, the themes of this series and the current conflict between the nations. Before the Fourth War, there were the 3 great ninja wars that greatly impacted the world and its characters in Naruto. So in the first Great Shinobi War, we found out how Tobirama died, and this explains how Hiruzen became the Hokage, and this also explains the rift between him and Danzo all those years back, and also explains why Danzo is so fixated on self-sacrifice. The second war was when the legendary Sannin gained a title after the fight against Hanzo, who was from the Rain Village, and it was this war that also led to the formation of the original Akatsuki that was formed by Yahiko, Konan and Nagato, and this was due to the Rain Village becoming a battlefield for the neighbouring nations despite the Rain Village not actually having any involvement in their conflict. And it was also in this war where Tsunade lost her younger brother Naoki and her boyfriend Dan during the war, and this was the start of her falling to despair and also her rising to fame as the most well-known medical ninja who we are introduced to in part 1. The events from the Third Great Ninja War also led to big character motivations and certain situations that happened in Naruto. Like for example, we see the original Akatsuki change into the Akatsuki that we see today in present time, after Nagato becomes pained due to the death of Yahiko, and the Kanabi Bridge incident explains how Kakashi got his title as Kakashi of the Sharingan, and this was important because finding out how he got the Sharingan was one of the biggest mysteries in part 1. The Kanabi Bridge incident was also the start of Obito's fall to despair, as we see him slaughter many Smith Shinobi after he saw Rin die in front of him, and it was because of this incident that Obito went back to Madara and wanted to collect all the tail beasts to resurrect the 10 tails, and eventually becoming one of the biggest villains in Naruto. The Mist Village also gained fame for its brutal training methods for nurturing young ninja and was named the Bloody Mist Village. Even Itachi, he was a young child during this war as well, and due to his traumatic experience of the war, he starts to become more of a pacifist, and it's this character trait that leads to Itachi executing the Uchiha massacre in order to prevent a potential Fourth Shinobi War from happening. So the events of these 3 ninja wars are what set the stage for the main story in the present by setting up its villains, new alliances and organizations, and characters having their own ideologies due to their experiences in the war. And because all their backstories all connect back to the previous wars, it makes all the characters feel like they all live in the same world, and that is a good choice for world building in a story. Everything started from the time of Kaguya and Hagoromo, like the Tail Beasts, which then became tools of war for the 5 great nations, and the Warring States period, which started because of the feud between Indra and Ashura, which eventually led to the establishment of Konoha and the other villages. Sasori became obsessed with human puppets because his parents were killed by Kakashi's father, Sakuma Hatake, who was from Konoha, and this caused him to go rogue and become one of the biggest criminals in the Sand Village, and also became one of the members of the Akatsuki. The Nine Tails attack, which was responsible for the death of Naruto's parents, and the conflict between the Uchiha and the Leaf Village, was caused by Obito, who was revealed to be the Man in the Mask. And the reason why Obito started the war was because of his encounter with Madara and the death of Rin during the Third War. So because most backstory is tied to other characters, whether they're from the same village or not, it makes it more believable that they all live in the same world. So you could probably make a whole timeline explaining the entire history of Naruto and even the family trees to see how different clans are related to each other because of the amount of lore that is explored in Naruto. So the world building is definitely one of Naruto's greatest strengths due to its in-depth geopolitics, various locations, well-developed power system, and its deep and coherent lore that affected the motivations of his characters, their backstories that can mostly be tied back to the era of Kaguya and Hagoromo. Having a large number of locations is not the only thing that determines great world building in a story. There were other factors to consider, and it's because of these other factors is why the world building is one of the best things about the series and deserves more appreciation.